What's up, everyone? So in this video I'm going to actually build the shadow box for the HOG Spear that I went over in detail in the last video. So yeah, here we are. Let's get started. Yeah, so the first thing I start with is the backer, just getting it cut, getting it measured out, and I want this HOG Spear to be like inset into, I would normally use another piece of wood, but one of the mistakes I made on my World War II shadow box was it was just heavy. So I'm trying to find ways to lighten it up on this video and on this project. And so I'm using Cosplay EVA foam. It's just super light and it allows me to cut fairly easily. So I double stacked, I think it's just the 10 millimeter foam, but I'll double stack it. So here I'm just getting ready to put the two pieces of EVA foam together. I'm using a rubber cement, and the key to this is just get enough on there without making a huge mess, but more so make sure the edges are good because we don't want it splitting apart. One of the cool things I've done with this EVA foam is my daughter's really into cosplay, so we've built some pretty sick weapons and other items she's needed for when she goes to like the conventions and stuff. But I figured I'd use it here, snag a couple pieces from her. I said to just lighten the load on this project. So here I just want to show you the type of wood I used. It's called rustic walnut, and it was about $23 for an 8-foot piece, and I had to use 2 of them. But it's beautiful wood, and you'll see in the final product how good it looks. So I'm getting ready to start cutting the 4 pieces, and I'm going to cut 45-degree angles. What you saw me doing there was I had a tool that told me the exact angle I was cutting at, and I just wanted to check and verify, because when you're trying to put corners together like this, if it's not a perfect 45, it doesn't look as clean, and it just can be a real hassle. So here I'm just cutting the pieces down to size. I did the math. I accounted for all the pieces of wood I'm going to use, the foam, and the space between the glass and the HOG Spear. And at the end, it was 4 inches is what I needed. So good thing these pieces were wide enough that I was able to cut it down to 4 inches. So this is the most tedious part of the process. And what I'm doing is I'm essentially just putting a lip into the wood, because when I use my glass, I wanted the glass to be inlaid into the wood, but you have to do this little by little. So, I had to do this to every piece, and it was inching it up every time, inching up the bit, moving the blade back. And so that process there took me probably an hour and a half for the 4 pieces. So here, just moving on, I'm getting ready to test the stain, see what I have. I'm using what's called a gel stain. I like the gel stain because it's easy to use, and you just wipe it on and you wipe it off, and just like typical stain, you make it as dark or as light as you want by applying a certain amount of coats. So here's the test piece, and it looks dark, but once I wipe it off, the grain of the wood really shows through. So this is what was recommended by the gentleman who helped me out at the wood store. So it's really important to use this test piece, because in the past, I'd be impatient. I just apply it to my project and it didn't turn out the way I liked it, and then it just caused more work for me in the long run. So just taking the extra time to do it right is, the way to go. So now I'm starting to work on the actual pieces to my shadow box, and I guess really what I end up doing is doing the first coat, letting it sit for a few hours, and then I did end up doing a second coat, just so I can get it a little bit darker. But it turned out, it turned out beautiful. And I chose the dark because I'm going to use a gray felt inside the box, and with the olive drab and tan colors of the HOG Spear, I just thought the combination of those 3 colors worked really well together. Yeah, so as I'm assembling this, obviously using glue for the corners, and I'm going to use just 3 small nails in each corner. So I have to be really careful with this part because I used the router in order to inlay the glass. I really made the wood, each piece, a lot thinner. So I have to be careful not to like blow out the sides or blow out the top of the wood when I'm using my nail gun to fasten these pieces together. In the end, I didn't have any accidents. Once all 4 pieces were, combined, it really started to take shape. So here I have my back piece and my 2 pieces of glued together EVA foam, and I'm just laying out the spear so I can trace around it and cut out the shape I need. So I'm only going to end up cutting the bottom portion where the handle would be, because it's a lot thicker than the actual head of the spear. And so when I'm done, the head of the spear is going to be flat up against the felt, with the handle being sunk in. So you can see here, what I'm talking about. So here I'm getting ready to glue the felt to the wood, and these are my side pieces. These side pieces are what's going to hold the plexiglass in place once I start to assemble the shadow box. And here I'm using a fabric glue, and the fabric glue works really well when it's bonding the wood to the felt. And there goes my baby boy, he runs the house. I used to use spray glue in the past, but the spray glue, I don't know, I guess the best way to describe it makes the felt really crusty and hard, and it's just not natural. So here you'll see me with the rolling pin, and I'm just rolling it out, making sure the fabric's making contact with the wood, because I really want it to look, clean when I do this. So now I'm cutting, and when I'm cutting, I'm taking my time. I'm using a brand new blade, just because, like I said a few seconds ago, I just really want it to be clean, because the cleaner it is, the more professional it looks. So just taking time. This is a tedious process. It's time consuming, but it's worth it in the end when you see the final product. One thing I failed to mention is that I actually iron the felt before I glue it onto the wood, and I think that's just an important step to take. So here's the side pieces, and I'm using wood glue because it's a wood panel against wood, the walnut, and this is what's going to hold the glass in place. So you see the plexiglass on there with the weights on it, and you just have to take the time. And I don't use any nails, only wood glue to fasten it, and you just got to let it dry long enough. So now we're moving on. This is me putting the felt on the EVA foam. I already did one side, and you can see those 3 little white dots over there. The good thing about EVA foam is I was able to use pins to secure it, so it actually worked out really well. I think I'm going to start using EVA foam with every one of my projects. But again, here just taking the time to cut it, make sure there's enough glue, and securing it, because again, in the end, every little mistake that I make now will be apparent in the end. So I just want to take my time and do things right. So I really love woodworking, and I like doing these shadow boxes a lot, especially when you can see the final product. But I've learned through failure, right? I've made a lot of mistakes doing these, and my first box to now, it's a world of difference. So if this is something you're interested in, and it's like your first time or trying something new, don't worry if it doesn't turn out perfect. Just kind of look and analyze what you did, and make the changes. Make the changes that you need to for the next time, just to make it that much better. So, like I said, this is my new favorite thing, this EVA foam, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So now we're getting towards the end, and I just want to point out over there, you see that piece of plexiglass that's in the shadow box. I didn't show myself cutting it because really I was kind of afraid it wouldn't work out. But what I did was I used a really good blade, which I watched a couple YouTube videos to make sure, and I've never actually used plexiglass before, so I went and bought a piece, and it was pretty expensive, so I was worried about messing it up, but just put some painter's tape where I was going to cut, and a really good blade, and used my guide as I always would, and it actually came out so clean, and it made it a lot lighter than a normal piece of glass, because I would usually have to have a custom piece of glass cut, and it gets real heavy. So now I'm starting to, I'm putting my coin in, and I'm just using the 3M strips, the two-sided adhesive strips. And so I do that with the spear as well. And you'll see here, I actually adhere it to that. But later on, you don't see it in this video, but I noticed that it wasn't like as sturdy as I wanted. So I ended up drilling holes and securing it with wire. And I had put tape on in the beginning just because I didn't want the tip. This thing is super sharp, and I didn't want to cut myself or, make any mistakes. So just getting it taken off here and getting ready to place it where it needs to be. So here I am getting ready to place the HOG Spear in its permanent location. And it's important to try to get it, exactly the way I want it, because once it's in, I'm not going to be taking it out. So one of the things that I want to mention is you'll see here the final product, and man, it's beautiful. You'll notice there's it's like a 1/4 inch gap, and it goes all the way around. And I did that intentionally. I wanted to give it some depth, and I'm still. The main reason was I want to use some LED lights, and I'm a little undecided because I really like the way it looks. It adds depth to it, and I'm not sure if I really want to put lights in, but I have that option if I choose to do it at a later time. So I just want to appreciate y'all for joining and watching this video, and next time I'm going to build like a secret compartment, but I'm also going to use a wood burner tool to burn an image into into what I'm doing. So hopefully you'll join me for that.